Hi, Mendo Dave, and this is Everyday Tech. Apple is planning on releasing a smaller and cheaper HomePod this year, and rumor has it that it's going to be approximately half the size as the current one. It's going to keep the same design, just on a smaller scale. And so with that in mind, I figured I'd better get on it in case they quit making the larger ones. The larger ones that also come with their larger sound quality. And this is what I have for you today on Everyday Tech. I've been wanting an additional sound system for the TV for quite a while, but not wanting one bad enough to fork over several $100s. The initial price of these were $349 each, which I just wasn't willing to spend. Then about a year later, Apple dropped the price to $249, which made them tempting, but not quite tempting enough. The sound from the TV was adequate, but there were other priorities around here besides having fancy sound. Sometimes it's nice to have a more theater-like experience, but there's a difference between nice and necessary. Then a couple of weeks ago, HomePods went on sale at Best Buy for $200, and I finally made the plunge. I ordered one, and it sounded pretty good, especially for the $199 price. It was then that I could see Apple's case for the initial $349 price when it was first released. I've bought or listened to a few mid-range speakers over the years and thought this was comparable to some of those. We have a Bose Wave radio or two that makes good sound, and it has comparable sound quality to the HomePod that actually cost more than this. So after receiving the first one, it sounded really good. And it sounded so good that I went ahead and ordered a second one before they changed the design on us, so that we could have stereo sound with matching speakers. I did not want to have one big speaker and a new speaker that was smaller and just didn't match. We've all heard better sound, especially out of something that costs significantly more and involves more complexity like wires, amps, tuners, and so on. I bought both of these speakers for under $400, and compared to the Bose Wave radios at $500 each we have around here, it is definitely better sound overall. No, it doesn't have a radio or a CD player like the Bose, but it is a smart speaker with Siri and all the kind of AI assistant kind of stuff that goes with that. So, no CD, but we can play from the music library or Apple Music, and I think that they will be adding support for Spotify and a few other streaming services if that's your thing, but more on Siri in a minute. We can also make phone calls, ask about the weather, make appointments on the calendar, and so on, your typical AI type of stuff. So that makes up for some of the lost interface features that the Bose Wave has. Besides, we have less than a dozen CDs now because most everything has been ripped to iTunes a long time ago. So playing CDs isn't a big thing for us anymore. But here's another cool thing the HomePod does. This is one of my favorites. I can hand off music I was playing from my phone in the car just by bringing it near one of the HomePods when I walk in the door. Okay, so more about Siri. Even though Siri isn't quite as good as Alexa or Google, it's good enough for me, and it does seem to be getting better all the time. But that wasn't really the point of these speakers in the first place, because being a smart speaker is a secondary feature of the first generation HomePod. It's more like a bonus feature, as well as the way they chose to make the user interface for the speaker, although you can adjust the volume on the top by hand. Because what these are not is a $50 Echo Dot. If all you want is to talk to a virtual assistant, you might as well just talk to your phone, because you probably already have a phone, and it should deliver comparable sound quality as long as your phone isn't rubbish. What these are is a decent mid-range speaker system with no wires other than the power cord, and they work natively with the Apple TV, which is what we watch everything on anyway. This was the thing that I got them for really in the first place. So they connect pretty easily, and so just by asking Siri, no, not the Siri on the HomePod or the one on the phone, but specifically the one on the Apple TV remote, you can change the sound output of the TV to the HomePods and have that big full sound right in your living room without making a trip to the theater. So that's my take on the HomePod. I hope the sound quality isn't diminished with the upcoming new version. That would be a shame. But Apple didn't sell very many of these because of the price point and the perception by many that it was an overpriced smart speaker rather than a really slick, compact sound system with Siri baked in. Let me know what you think in the comments, and on your way down there, hit one of the thumb buttons. I'll see you next time with a cool, simple way to turn your barbecue into a smoker on Everyday Tech.